Hey, welcome. This is Josh with Shy-Fi Productions. Really excited to be checking out another Quilter product. This is the Quilter SuperBlock US. Great sounding amp. I'm going to focus more on the sounds. I'll go over some of the features at the end, but I know you can look them up or you might already be familiar with them. So we'll mostly do tone today. There's a lot of options with it, so I'll just kind of sweep through. And this is going to be, in live time. So if you see me tweaking knobs, this is to try and get the levels more or less the same. I'm playing through a beautiful PRS Hollowbody I. I believe it's 2008 single cut. Maybe I got that right. Straight into the SuperBlock, straight into my Motu M2, straight to my computer. No editing, no EQing, just straight. The only pedal I'm going through is a hum debugger, just because I can split the two humbuckers on here. So the single coil sounds get a little bit of buzz, so this will just help a little bit. And since it's recording direct, also we're in my room. Very exciting. No one's at my house, which happens like once a year. So kind of fun to do in my own room. And of course, one of the benefits here of going line out is there's no sound. No amp being loud in the room, no dogs barking, that kind of thing. So super cool. So there at the beginning, I just had, I'm starting kind of clean, or not kind of clean, really clean. This is on the 65 setting, which is like your deluxe reverb, your blackface amps. And that's gonna sound something like this. I have the treble at 2, the mids at 10, the bass is right around 12 o'clock. And this is just a great, great clean. I have the gain about halfway, but not distorted at all, right? I also have the humbucker neck split right now. So I'm going for like a nice single coil Strat E sound. It's obviously not Strat, but this is kind of your classic Strat into a deluxe reverb or blackface. Can't beat it, right? Just a classic sound. Okay? And one nice thing is the cab sim is on a normal setting now. Most of the time I like it on normal, but if I go to the bright setting, if I wanted even more brightness, right? To get even a slightly more scoop sound. Here's the normal. Here's the bright. You can definitely hear a difference, right? So like if I go to my bridge, and this is also split right now. So this is a single coily bridge sound. If I want it real twangy, get a little volume jumps here because this is all live. But anyways, really, really bright. Could get plenty bright. If I turn the reverb way up and I want to do like a surf kind of. Right? You can hear there, it's got a ton of reverb, but it could definitely do that. And if I switch back to the normal setting, again, this is still on the 65 amp. If I'm going to go to humbucker here, let me test my volume, looks the same-ish. If I want to get more like a straight ahead jazz sound, I could definitely do that. If I back down my volume a bit, if I even wanted a little bit warmer. So it responds really great for that, and I do a good amount of like jazz, solo jazz guitar stuff. So that's definitely a sound I like. If you go to the 57 setting, that's a tweed setting. So if I'm still going for, let me check my levels. Okay, they look okay. was doing solo stuff, the 57 works really well clean. You'll notice more mids. So like if you're on here's my 65 setting, if I'm playing some stuff, it's still fairly scooped. Right? If I go to 57, it's gonna get some more mids in there. It's a little fuller. It's because the mids is gonna break up a little bit. So if I back my gain down a little bit, keep it clean. I could also get a nice jazz sound. Some of the early jazz, like West records, were on tweed amps, right? Then you might have to turn the gain knob even down a little bit more to keep it clean. But you can get a really nice sound for that. Actually, for a lot of my jazz stuff, I like the neck split. So if I go to that sound on the tweed, it's a really nice full sound, a little less scoop, but still really nice. Back my volume down a hair. And again, that's all in the normal cab sim. The 61 setting is really cool. I was actually less familiar with it. So you have a 65 as your blackface, 57 is your tweed. 61 is like a blonde amp. And to be honest, I'm a little less familiar with them, but it's kind of like a tweed gain-wise, but it's definitely brighter. And it's got a real specific like high-mid bump to it. It's definitely brighter. So like if I'm doing some blues stuff, these are both my coil split. Here is the 57, so this would be like a nice tweed. Right, if I go to my 61, I can see this sticking out well in the mix. Like if you're on your 57 setting, you get a nice kind of mid big sound. But if you're doing some lead stuff and you want it to stick out a little bit more, this could definitely be nice. Here's on my bridge, and then I'll start gaining it up a little bit. Enough of this clean stuff. So here's a... And one thing I really love about these Quilter products is, man, they really feel like tube amps. It's pretty incredible. I mean, the way it reacts to your guitar, all that stuff. Picking. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to gain it up a little bit. Turn the master down. Hopefully that's close-ish the same. I'll turn the reverb down a tiny bit. So here it's... Okay, so definitely a little bit breakup. This is on the 61 setting. It's pretty bright. Now, one thing I really like, if I go back down to my 65 setting, again, if I'm looking for a, almost like Stevie Ray, blackface, but kind of cranked, definitely getting a little bit of breakup, I could do that here. So my gain is most of the way up. I'm going to do a little more mids and a little less treble. Let's see what I get. You can hear there the low end kind of splatting out like it would in a real amp, which is kind of cool. Sounds great for that, right? Now here's one instance where I could hit the bright switch if I want to cut through a little bit more. Again, reacts super well if I back down. It's going to be pretty clean. If I dig in, it's going to break up just like you'd expect. Or here, same setting, if I go to my 61, I like it for this kind of thing because it's a little brighter, a little bit more in your face. I'm going to go to the in-between. These are both split, by the way. I'll do humbuckers more when we go to the tweed. So turn my gain up a little bit. If I put my humbucker on, this is in between, but with the humbucker I'll get a little more gain, obviously. Yeah, reacting really great. So we got kind of the clean sounds, we got some more bluesy sounds. If I want to go and just get a little more gain, so more into my tweed, the early amps that inspired later on some of the Marshall amps, what I would do here is I would go to the 57 setting. I'm going to put a little more mids and a little less treble. Usually just personally I like mids about 2, treble about 10 if I'm doing this kind of sound. If I'm just doing cleans, I kind of do the opposite. I'm going to turn the reverb down a little bit. Let's see what we got. Now, so now I'm going to go to my full humbucker. Let's get a little gain happening here. Check my level. Okay. My cap sim is just on normal. So again, crank the mids a little bit, turn the reverb. Now here's where your limiter knob actually starts being really useful. On the clean, honestly, I don't really hear much of a difference on anything. But when you go to distortion, it really does make a difference. So for example, here if my limiter's off, give a little more gain. There we go. Turn the reverb down a little bit. Get almost into the classic rock territory. Again, this is my full humbucker. Sounds great. Nice huge sound. If I wanted to roll down my volume a ton, if it's a little bright, I could do that, right? Makes it a little warmer. So for rhythm stuff, I might do something like that. Sorry, let me check a good old tuner here. Just a little out of tune. The beauty of doing it live. All right, close enough. Everyone wants to hear some tuning, it's fun. But anyway, so you get, right? So now, if I turn the limiter up halfway, you'll notice it smoothens out and it gets a little less gainy. Turn it up even more, it's going to get less gainy, right? And here's with it off. It's a pretty big difference, right? A lot of times I would like it on just a little bit, maybe like 10 o'clock or so. It just takes a little edge off it. Again, depends on what I want to do. If I keep it here on the 57 setting, I'm going to crank the gain. I'll keep the limiter on a little bit, just to give you an idea of. Turn my master down a little bit. Actually, this is a hair below cranked. Cool, it almost gets a little fuzzy. Again, this is still on my 57, so a tweed setting. So here, especially if I turn the limiter off, turn that on. It's pretty rocking. I mean, the SuperBlock US, you would, for more of a US amp, you don't expect it super gainy, but especially if you're putting out humbuckers, it's a good amount of gain there. Again, this is no pedals. That's just the that was just the amp there. Now I'll show you one other thing. So again, the 61 setting I did a little less on, but I actually quite like it for the dirty sounds. I'll kind of show you that. So let's start on the tweed. Looks like roughly the same volume. Yeah, reverb's on just a hair, but it's almost off. limiter on a little bit. Here's my 57 sound. If I go to my 61, I'll do that again. 57, 61. You'll hear more of a difference too with the lead stuff. So what I would might like to use it for, let's say I'm doing some lead work. We'll stay in kind of the rock-ish zone here. Let's say it's not cutting through the mix as much as I'd want. If I switch to the 61 setting, it's gonna get brighter. And again, it's a specific frequency that's gonna cut through. You can really hear it on the higher notes. Here's 57. Here's 61. Especially a more bluesy stuff, I could see liking that. If I wanted a little more in your face, do a little more gain here. Turn my limiter down. A little more reverb, why not? The 61 definitely takes some of the mids out and then bumps up a little bit higher of a frequency, which is super cool. So anyways, hopefully that's at least a good idea of some of the things this Quilter SuperBlock US can do. I know we went right to the tones, but real quickly, let me just take it out of the thing here. You know what? I'll just unplug it. So it weighs something crazy, like 3 or 4 or 5 pounds, I don't know. It's incredibly light, which is super cool. It has your master, reverb, treble, mid, bass, limiter, gain. So obviously master's the volume, the 3-band EQ. The limiter, which I went over a little bit, but again, mainly for the gain. So if you want to smoothen it out, especially like a single coil tone through a distortion and gets a little weird, you can put up the limiter, it kind of smoothens out, takes out some of the gain, and then the gain. You have your 3 voices. 65 is like a blackface or deluxe. 57 is a tweed. 61 is your blonde. The cab sim I mostly did normal, but a few times I did the bright. If it's like a bluesy sound or even for some clean, country, funky stuff, if I just wanted to cut through a little bit, it's useful for that. I didn't do the FR, but that would be if you want a straight sound, like no EQ. If you're going through like a helix or something like that, you might want that. There's on. Standby is kind of cool, by the way. If you just want to plug in headphones, it will disable everything else, and then obviously off. It can do a speaker out, which is super cool. So like if you were on a gig, some gigs I will give the PA a direct out, but I still want a cab on stage just to get a little volume and kind of feel for it. So that's kind of nice. I was plugged in through the PS24. That's the adapter that comes with the pedal. And super cool with that is you get a full 20-ish, I think it's 25 watts. It's supposed to be tube equivalent. So that's should be plenty for your gigs, right? Most gigs, especially if it's mic'd up. But if you just want to run it through your pedal train or Voodoo Lab or whatever you got, one spot, you can plug it in here and still use it. It reduces it to like a watt or 2, I believe. So less headroom and that kind of thing. But if you have it mounted on your pedal board, that's really pretty cool. And I was using the line out, so I was just going straight from here to my computer. So for me, it's super useful because I do a lot of recording at home. I still like to mic up my amp some of the time, but it's harder to find time to do that. So here, no matter what time of the day, no matter who's home, babies, dogs, all that good stuff, I can record and be nice and quiet. So hopefully this gives you an idea of the Quilter SuperBlock US. Awesome, awesome pedal. It retails right around $300, which for honestly, all that you get is really a pretty good deal in my humble opinion. So stay tuned, more videos on the way, got more gear, more original stuff, more solo guitar stuff. So if you like what you see, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, send me money. No, you don't have to send me money, but do any of that stuff. I'll see you guys next time.